Hello again, thanks for joining. So today we've got this Piko model to have a look at. It's of a little steam tank engine, a BR89, and it's from the old timer range. It's in this fantastic box, very retro looking. And this one is number 5/6314. You can see it's made in the GDR, which gives you an indication of how old this model is. I think it's going to be great to have a look at this model. So let's get this box open and we'll check it out. So I've just noticed here on the box, it actually has handwritten 19th of the 11th, 76, which gives a hint that maybe this model was first purchased in 1976. So it's quite an old model. So obviously this was a second-hand purchase, but incredibly included in the box was the original instruction sheet. And we also have this little set of 3 little tools as well, which you can fit onto this model, which is really quite cool. So the leaflet that comes with this locomotive is in a number of different languages. It has a fantastic illustration of the locomotive, and here we have details in English, and the opening line is brilliant. Steam locomotives will attract great fascination of all friends of standard and model railways, which is fantastic. And down here it does actually give you some history of this locomotive. Built from 1872 to 1920, 152 locomotives were built by the Hartmann Locomotive Factory for the Saxonian State Railways existent at the time. And here is the tank engine in this really unusual kind of olive green colour. It almost looks a military colour, and a fantastic offset bunker there with the coal in it. Let's have a closer look at this model. As we saw detailed in the instructions, it does say about having these little crystals in the lights. This one has one missing here, but I've actually managed to pick up some of these little crystals from Temu of all places. So I'll pop one in there and fix that up. We've got the buffers here with the white surrounds. They look as though they've been extra pieces added in along with the lamps. And we have another extra piece added in here. The bell is up here, which is part of the main moulding. It's just been picked out in gold. And the main moulding itself does have a lot of detail on it. Some really nice rivet detail down the side. And it's got the little pipework up here on the side of the boiler. Unmissable on this locomotive is this kind of weird offset part here where the coal is situated. It's been painted brown here to represent wood, but not at the top, so that's a bit of an omission. But the coal is represented in black, and it does actually look quite good there. You can see around this side it isn't being painted brown, so I guess it's not wood. It might actually be metal in the real locomotive. I've never seen one of these in the flesh, but it certainly looks quite an interesting little tank engine. We've got a little gold part here on the side of this dome, and another little valve at the top has been picked out in gold. That's just extra bits of paintwork. And then looking back down here at the cab, we've got lots of rivet detail around it, and some lining too, as well as the handrails picked out in gold paint. It does have some printing on the side of it, but it's not that clear really. But the lining is really nicely done though. Up on the roof, the top part is painted black. It looks like it's an extra piece that's been added in there. You will see that there's no cab detail because we've got that massive motor in there. And if you look at the back, you can also see it doesn't have any glazing, but it does have a lot of character at the back of this tank engine. Lots of rivet detail, again the lamps with the little crystals in, this time they're painted green, and the buffers black with the white surrounds again, and a nice buffer beam there. Not a lot of detail on it, but it has been picked out in red, and you'll see that there is a red line running the whole length of this locomotive as well. So down below, the wheels are actually looking quite crude, but they are made of metal with plastic inserts, and we have metal valve gear here, which is very basic, and it moves around a little bit as well. It's got plastic parts, and the pistons aren't really that detailed, so I think there's been a lot of corners cut there. Underneath you can see that it has gears for all-wheel drive. You can also see here there's a compromise with this part. I think that's to actually suppress interference on TVs and things like that. Not quite sure. I think so. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But you can see it there. It doesn't look very prototypical hanging down. We do have this red tank at the back though. So it is a very unusual little tank engine. Never seen one like this before with the coal sitting up here. Makes it rather unique, I think. But let's put this on the test track and see if we can get it running. So here we are on a bit of track. As usual, this is just some Hornby third radius track, and I'm using my H&M controller to power this on 12 volt DC. So let's give it some juice and see what happens. So no problems there at all. It runs really good. It's a little bit noisy, but it does go along at a nice slow speed. It's very nicely geared as well. So let's put this on the scales and we'll see how much it weighs. So this model comes in at 183 grams. I'm now going to put in a new jewel onto the light here at the front, and I'm actually going to change the one at the back as well. I've already taken it out there so that they both match. And for that I'm going to be using the usual Formula 560 canopy glue from Pacer. So that's certainly an easy fix, and it's looking pretty good now, I think. So what do we think of this BR89 model from Piko? Now, it is a vintage model and it does have all the hallmarks of being a bit old now, certainly with it having no cab detail at all, and having that big motor there is a bit of a disappointment. But the motor does run really well. After all these years, it had no problems on the track. And this is a very unusual model. I've never seen a steam locomotive with the coal positioned on the side of the boiler there. On this model, the valve gear I think is a bit of a letdown, and the model could have some more detail in the main moulding. The paintwork isn't too good either. It could definitely benefit with a bit of a touch up of the brown just to make the wood effect around the coal a little bit better. But it's certainly a very unusual locomotive, bags of character on this one, and I think you could probably pick it up fairly cheap, although I suspect it's going to be pretty rare. So I think it would make a great little addition to your layout. If you're willing to look past the valve gear and some of the crudeness on this model, it does represent a fantastic little vintage model tank engine, and I think it would be great in your collection as well. I've really enjoyed having a look at this, but that's just my thoughts. What do you think about this locomotive? Is it something that would appeal to you, or is it just a little bit too crude? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps this channel grow. I'll put this on the turntable so you can see all the way around. And in a moment, another video will appear. Just click on that and I'll see you there. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. See ya.